Hello everyone, welcome back for another shoutcast. We'll get it started right away. And excuse me, I've just breathed in a lot of smoke, so I'm going to be coughing quite a bit. But I want to get some shoutcasts done as I don't get very many evenings to myself anymore. And that's when I do shoutcasts, so despite my cough, I'm going to try to do shoutcasts anyway. I'll make one or two tonight and release them on YouTube throughout the week when I have time to do some uploading. But anyway, excuse me. This is a game that was played on Back in the Desert, and it was played between myself, Florek, Sado, and Siem versus Boby, Botso, VIP, and Daan. And this game was played on 1.5 speed, so keep in mind there'll be many mistakes made in this game in the building phase, and actually this is one mistake I make too. This piece of road right here I totally neglect to make, and causes me to have my goal delayed by several minutes. So the 1.5 speed does throw you off a little bit, but in addition to that, there was a lot of lag this game. Florek was having some connection issues, and every few minutes he would disconnect for about half a minute, and other players were lagging as well. So keep that in mind. You'll see some strange things like this mistake with the road here. All these buildings are waiting to get resources taken to them. You don't really notice that either, because I mean you're looking at you're trying to micro so quickly and do lots of other things, and here it is finally I notice it. You don't really notice small things like servers delivering wares to buildings. And it's those kind of reasons why playing on one-time speed is really appropriate. Instead of playing 90-minute peacetime, we play 60 minutes with 1 minute, one-time speed. And it really lets you enjoy the building phase of the game. You can pay attention to the smallest details in your economy, and it gives you a lot more control over what's going on. And for those reasons, one-time speed is very nice, especially in competitive level play, and for people who just enjoy the building part of the game. But anyway, we'll continue to look through the players' bases and see how they're doing. Sado has farms down here. I don't like putting my farms down here, and I'll tell you why. You'll see later on he does have some issues in production, since the serfs have to travel quite a long ways to get to this farm right here, and it's really out of the way, and it's stretching your base out quite a bit. I like to just put a woodcutter here, and maybe a second woodcutter here, but probably not. Just a woodcutter here and a woodcutter right here. And then I don't need to build roads in this area, but I'm still using it, as my woodcutters are definitely walking over here to plant. And that's one thing to keep in mind when you're making your base. If you just put your woodcutters at the edges of your base, instead of building long roads to make woodcutters, just placing them at the edge of your base, that will enable you to have slightly worse production with your trees, since your trees will be somewhat in your base, but they'll just be at the edges. I'll have to show you some examples if we see them later on in the game, since I'm not doing a really good job of explaining it. But if you just have your woodcutters at the edge of your base, it'll enable you to save some roads. Anyway, we'll continue looking through. This is we'll introduce my team guys first. Siem is going for iron down here first, which is very common on the new edition of Back in the Desert. This location here is for could make a very nice setup for expos or pikes during the first 40 or 50 minutes of the game, and then go up here later for more iron. Alternatively, you could do double iron, but double iron with a split could probably be pretty inefficient. I'm not sure, I've never tried it before. This is one of the very few locations that you have split iron. One of the few locations of maps that are played, I should say, because lots of maps have lots of collections of iron, but not very many have them in such a way where you have the coal down here and you have a perfect iron setup here and a perfect iron setup up here, so that's kind of a split iron. But anyway, an interesting tactic would be to just try to build in this small area here for the first 50 minutes of the game or so, and then maybe extend up here later on to catch some extra iron. if you did only expos and made many farms, you could fit probably 8 farms pretty easily in this area down here, and maybe extend up here a little bit. And just all trees in the north, it could make for some interesting build, and I'd like to see someone try that sometime. But you are wasting a lot of iron up here, and this iron down here will run out. Again, if you just go expos for the first 60 minutes or so, and then 50 to 60 minutes, and then extend up here for swords, it could be interesting. Excuse my cough, blast it. Breathed in way too much smoke. Anyway, here's Florek. Really nice to see this guy playing again. And he is building a very early bakery, which is very unusual. I almost never see anyone make bread on location 8, as it's notorious for the amount of fish. In fact, he's made a bakery before any fish whatsoever, which is very unusual. But he won't have any food problem for sure. Look at the amount of food he has left. I don't understand why the bakery feels needed at this time. He has 5 farms. 5 interestingly placed farms. I love farms like this. They're so goofy. You know, it's like using up all the space in between your buildings and stuff like that. And that's probably decent for traffic too, because I mean, you're not going to get surf jams when you have this much space in between your buildings. But of course the farms are a little less efficient since they have to kind of walk a longer distance to get to the fields. And Florek is going pike. My favorite way to make pikes or crossbowmen is to make the weaponsmithy first, and then make an armor smithy, and then another armor smithy, and let the armor catch up to the weapons, and once the armor and weapons are synced, then I'll switch over to sword production. And that will enable a very nice transition from sword or pike or expo into swords. A very natural and easy way to balance it out. Okay, and we'll go look at our enemies and see how they're doing. Boby playing this location 4. You want to keep your barracks as far away from this area as possible, since this is a really crucial part in defense of your base. You'll need to keep your soldiers here, and the further out your barracks is to the front line, especially on location 4, the less flexibility you have with moving back if your sword forces are inferior. So the further forward your barracks is, the faster you're able to attack, but defending becomes much more tricky and much more limited when your barracks is towards the front. Alright, we'll see how Boatso is. He's on location 2, and this is something that's becoming more and more popular, is ignoring this coal and this production up here and merely taking iron in this sector here, and this is really nice since this coal field here will last much longer, and I'm interested in seeing players experiment with this more and more, because this does enable your late game to be much stronger, and your iron production is definitely in a much better setup if you're making it like this. So it's really exciting to see players doing this nowadays. I've seen Brovar do it a couple of times, I've seen Boatso do it now, and I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a really nice idea. This location is really begging for it, the way you have about almost 800 coal here, but only about 400 here. 400 coal is not going to last, and if you have your entire iron production set up here, it's not going to work at peacetime at all. I'll quickly go through the other players. Running out of time here, I'm chatting away. Best location of all locations in the remake, at least as some would say anyway. This is a very strong location, location 3. You're able to do all sorts of wonderful things here. And VIP is going Expo, Pike, Sword. He's making all units in the game. You could even make scouts if you wanted to. It's interesting. I'd have to stare at this barracks for a while to figure out how you would compare this army to others, but this is really interesting, although he is lacking quite a few recruits. Daan, normal build. Florek, Pike, and Bow. normal, normal. And Sado was iron only. He's really in buff, 30 swords. Poor guy. But again, everyone's armies are a little subpar with the speed. I do want to check out Botso one more time to see how he did. Not so great. But this is more of a late game setup. You're gonna have a harder time getting everything going, but it's much better in the long run. Anyway, we'll get the game going. Don't know if I ever looked at Bobby's barracks, but there it is. And something you don't see very often, but the top where teams were able to take the center very quickly, and that's because the barracks placement of these guys. And Back in the Desert is by far my favorite 8-player map, and one of my favorite maps of all, because the game is so... Because the center is so small and limited, and you're so close to your opponents, how you build is so very important. And you can see that Botso's barracks, Bobby's barracks, and VIP's barracks are all situated much closer to the center than they are normally. And for that reason, the top is actually able to gain the center very fast. Normally you see location 2 put their barracks up here, and you see location 3 put their barracks over here in this area. And those two things right there are really starting to slow down the speed in which your units get to the center of the map. Whereas you see my barracks is way down here. Sado's is not too far from the center, but it's a little bit further than normal. Killer's is nicely forward and able to get here quickly, and so is Florek's, but just a little bit of delay on us moving towards the center and them being very quick and having forward barracks. The top was able to capture the center very fast. And if you own the center of the map here, you have much more flexibility of where you want to go and what you want to do. The game speed was 1.5, but the after peacetime, the speed was 1 time, or regular speed, so much easier to micro after that. Crossbowmen do not match up against bows in a shoot fight like that, as crossbowmen shoot so slow. There's very little pushing or anything going on. We're backed up against the wall here, and when your opponents are backed up against the wall, it's nice to try to push forward with your bows, since it's kind of hard to step back. Even impossible when you're pushed up against a wall like this. But nobody's really pushing or being aggressive in this game. That's probably because everyone is pretty unsatisfied with their base, and they're still working on it, since it was 1.5 speed, so players were still working on their bases at 60 minutes, so... You can see Sado over here is starving very bad, for example, and I'm not too much better. So at 12 minutes in, there's still no pushing or anything, but here you can see aggression is happening. Everything is moving over to the left side. And here's the first catch. It's really hard to tell which way this fight's going because there are soldiers fighting in all directions. There's just so many soldiers on the map. But the defender does have a big advantage since the ranged are already in position and the attacker needs to bring his ranged units forward. So you can see Boby's ranged weren't shooting for quite some time. That's kind of a penalty. I have soldiers out of game here, but they're gonna make it before the melee hero falls. Daan's knights on pike is never ideal, even though the pike are falling rather quickly due to the massed number of range here. But of course the pike will win. Sado, bringing a very large number of swordsmen in as reinforcements, is able to scare the ranged away from VIP. Boby doing not the right thing. Should have brought his bows, knights down here to work with his bows, but sends them up to attack Florek, who has massed pike. And knights are not going to win against pike. Thanks to Sado, we win on the right side. And thanks to my towers that are able to get some nice kills and protect the range. And you can see, even with his mass number of range, it's just out shooting these pikes. The knights still lose because of that huge bonus pikemen get against horses. And then Sado's soldiers come in right in the time, really, and just butcher. Daan wants to stay aggressive though, and he continues to attack. But Sado has just too many swords here, and that's the nice thing about Location 5, is he's producing swords at such a fast rate the entire game. Sado being a little too aggressive though, and he's going to lose all his swords here. There's just so many people getting killed and fought. It's really crazy. Maybe I shouldn't be playing it on such a fast speed, but even surrounded, able to come out on top there. Though I did lose nearly all my bows. More soldiers coming in from the right. Reinforcements coming from here. We're winning, losing. Just so much going on in this game. It was so crazy. And we're pushed back again. Now the right side has initiative, but reinforcements coming again. Sado with a massive amount of melee coming by. And able to push back again. The enemy. Our enemy. And Sado is feeling confident enough, and there's hungry recruits, so Sado and Siem march in together into Daan's base to see what damage they can do. But more soldiers coming from the right. And the VIP isn't sending anything from the north, but you can see this brigade inside Daan's base is quickly going to be torn apart. And the right side as the initiative again, as they're pushing us out of Daan's base. Daan losing quite a few serfs, actually. I'm really surprised. I didn't realize he had lost so many, but Siem doing a very good job killing farmers, killing serfs. So actually the damage has been done, and Daan won't be producing soldiers for quite some time, or at least his economy will be hit. It's reinforcements from Florek coming. Nice amount of bows. Some bows from me. A couple of knights from Siem. The armies are roughly equal. There's so much fighting going on, I hesitate to go to the bases to see how late game is going, but we will anyway. A little bit of hunger from Florek, even though he does have a baker. And some wine. Just added in an 8th woodcutter. See, Siem is having a little bit of hunger issues as well. He has some wine, a bakery. I am also having some hunger problems. Lots of sausage in the storehouse though, so that's when you want to add an additional in. I'm relocating my gold to the bottom since the gold on top runs out. Sado is rebuilding coal mines in the bottom, which is really good. He still has 13 coal mines, which is good. I keep saying good. It's important for him to keep making coal mines. What's also important is that he doesn't produce so many swords. He's never able to catch up with the armor, and that's something that should be attended to in good time anyway. Making new farms over his old coal fields, which is nice, so we'll be able to get a little bit more food and leather out of that. And I see, what, 6 armory workshops? Only 3 swine farms, though, and does have 2 tanneries. It's making lots of wooden shields, and that's why he has so many. Only hand axes right now, no bows. And Sado's melee have been really helpful this game, so it is nice that he is making so many wooden shields. Does he have a market, I wonder? I don't know, I guess the market isn't on this graph. But here we go, another push into Daan's base, and we have many bows this time. And our opponents just simply don't have the range units to counter it. I'm really curious if Sado is trading anything, but I guess he's not. Wooden shields have the best trades in the game. One shield can give you 1 corn, 1 of any kind of ore. 1 shield to 1 loaf of bread. All for the cost of 1 timber, rather. So for late game, I always say adding in additional armory workshops and a market or 2 for, and you can almost run with half the coal mines you need, since we're able to produce so much coal just from wooden shields. But you will need a large amount of serfs to do that. And Daan's going to be losing more serfs as we just stand here and pick them off. And here's really where the crux of sacrificing knights is. He's able to kill 3 bows for the cost of 2 knights, and really that's not ideal. It's better to just distract arrow fire from your knights rather than kill bows. So you really need to consider attacking archers. Is it really worth losing your knights to kill a couple of bows? And we are able to come on top of that one as well. And Daan actually resigns at this point, as I guess he's getting tired of his base keep getting infiltrated. But VIP is able to come through here and clean up the range of Florek once again. And Sado has quite a bit of melee here, but reinforcements coming. How much damage is he going to do to Botso before he loses everything? You can see he's going to be completely surrounded here in a little bit. You see, no ranged. You're not going to last very long in street fighting without any ranged. So Sado's units here are going to be picked off, but reinforcements for myself and Siem are coming. That knight gets away just in time. That axe fighter was swinging. I don't know why he didn't get caught. Crazy knights. Alright, and Botso did not lose very many serfs at all, or much production time. Sado didn't do a whole lot of damage with his people melee, though he did get quite a few kills. And you can see here, where my knights died here, it would have been a better decision to just keep dancing as opposed to actually going in, because they were less useful attacking the range as they were than when they were just distracting their arrows and bolts. And here you go, we more or less lost this fight. Maybe though saying that, I see Sado and Siem still have quite a few swords here, so they are able to keep the pressure on. And Florek is coming with a nice amount of reinforcements, plenty of bows and some additional pike for meat shield. So the top team is still holding on a little longer, but in 3 versus 4, it's not gonna. It's only a matter of time. more reinforcements from Sado, and Sado's trying to charge to get in there faster. But just doing a little bit of skirmishing in here, but it's really not needed. Just trying to see what we could do. But here we go, the final nail in the coffin, as it were. And that was the result. I hope I caught most of the action. It was a really interesting game. So many people, soldiers dying, and so many people getting killed. Back and forth. So it was really interesting. If not for the increased speed and the lag, it would have been one of the most fun games I've ever played. But you can see Siem has the best spam and VIP somewhat close second, with myself not too far behind. But everyone producing quite a few soldiers, with the exception of Sado and Daan, were a little far behind. Daan, obviously, because he was out of the game quite a bit sooner than anyone else, and Sado had that crazy starvation, actually. If you look at the food graph, poor Sado had a lot less food produced than anyone. And keep in mind, this is not 250 units of food. This is food power. If you go to sausage, you can see I produced almost 250 sausage, but I produced far less than 250 food power. Basically, it means sausage will give you a lot more food power than wine will, for example. Florek produced almost 150 bread, but on his food power, you can see he made quite a bit more, a little bit more than 200. If you combine his bread produced and the sausage produced, almost 400 put together between his bread and the sausage. So you can see the food is not a number of food units produced, but food power. But it was an interesting game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope my coughing didn't ruin the shoutcast too much. Anyway, we'll see you around for another.